Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Asatara Satyashri Srimati Samangre Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai, Mathura Dhama Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai, Gangamai Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Sambhaveta Bhaktarinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Nama Om Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharane, Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desacharane, Vandeham Sri Guru, Sri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parichana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha Panchakalpachubhischa Kripa Sindhavyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevi Namo Namo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And why is this not working? Okay, there we go. So today is June 3rd, 2024 in Hillsborough, North Carolina, New Goloka. It's the appearance day of Vrindavan Das Thakur. So I wanted to read something about Vrindavan Das Thakur and then a little bit about his mother. The mother of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was Sri Narayani Devi, the niece of Srivas Pandit. In his Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das has described how his mother attained the affectionate fervor of Sri Gaura Sundar. Narayani Devi received the entire remnants of Mahaprabhu's meal. Though she was only an insensible child, he bestowed his mercy on her in this way. As a result of this mercy, Vrindavan Das Thakur, whose life and soul was Gaura Nityananda, took his birth from her womb. The name of his father is never mentioned. His father died when he was in the womb, when Vrindavan Das Thakur was in the womb. And then she took a job at the house of Sri Vasudev Datta, where she acted as a servant. And basically, she lived in poverty. She raised her house Narayani raised Vrindavan Das Thakur in the home of the father of Sri Malini Devi, where she had accepted shelter. Vrindavan Das was born 4 years after Mahaprabhu took sannyas. When Mahaprabhu disappeared, he couldn't have been more than 20 years old. He was initiated by Sri Nityananda Prabhu and was apparently the last disciple whom Nityananda accepted. He accompanied Janava Mata to the Kaituri Maha Mahotsava. Krishnadas Kaviraj glorifies him as says Vrindavan Das Thakur is the Veda Vyas of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what Krishnadas Kaviraj did is anything that Vrindavan Das Thakur described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, he just describes in brief, and then he describes the things that Vrindavan Das Thakur did not describe. So there's a section in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. My phone is not cooperating today. And it's in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Khanda, chapter 2. Srivas is most dear to the Lord. Remember, this is where Narayani, part of the family of Srivas Thakur, she was his niece. Srivas is most dear to the Lord. Therefore the Lord blessed him and everyone present by placing his lotus feet upon their heads. Smiling, Vishwambar, that's a name for Lord Chaitanya, said, "May your attachment and attraction for me increase." The Lord spoke loudly like a roaring lion and addressed Srivas and said, "Oh, Srivas, are you afraid of something? News has reached me that the government men want to capture you, and they have come with 2 boats. So this sometimes happens. Sometimes our devotees are preaching in some area that's dangerous, that the government doesn't approve. So just like I've been to Dubai, where the Hare Krishna movement is not legal, and we had a big festival, like over 1,000 people, and there was a kirtan going on the stage and selling books and CDs and stuff like that. It's difficult to sell books there also. The way we get books there is one devotee will bring 10 books in a suitcase, another devotee will bring another 10 books in a suitcase, and like that. So they had a big sign over the stage that said personality development. Anyway, so we're having this big festival going on, and then someone said, "Oh, one of the sheikhs is coming." In 30 seconds, anyone wearing saffron changed into Western-style clothing. Well, it was really funny seeing Jai Doi Tamaraj with a pants and shirt and baseball cap. And all of the devotional books and CDs were put away. And they put out like Bollywood CDs. And then the kirtan on the stage, within just a few seconds, kirtan on the stage stopped and they started singing Bollywood songs. So this happens, sometimes, right, in places where when I was preaching in China, so they don't have freedom of assembly like we have in this country. you can't have a group of people congregate. So on Nrsimha Chaturdasi, I was there. We had a program in someone's apartment, and it took like 2 hours just to gather the people, because 2 people would come up, and then you'd wait 5 minutes, and then another 2 or 3 people would come up, then you wait another 5 or 6 minutes, then another few people would come up. And China was the only place that I didn't publicly walk around in a sari and tilak, or else you could get arrested and imprisoned or deported. And the devotees would come to the program, and then once they were at the program, they would put on tilak and so forth. So this sort of situation exists, right? Or we think in the former Soviet Union, of course, that was very extreme, if any of you have read Salted Bread. So this was what was going on. So Mahaprabhu says, news has reached me that the government men want to capture you, because there was a kirtan going on every night in Srivas Thakur's house. And they have come with 2 boats. I am the super soul within everyone's heart. Thus I control and direct everyone's activities according to my sweet will. The king can only capture you if I, being situated in his heart, prompt him to do so. Yet if for some reason he acts independently, do we have to listen to the super soul? No, we have free will. Yet if for some reason he acts independently and gives the order to capture you, then I will do the following. I will be the first to step into the boat and present myself before the king. Upon seeing me, do you think he can remain seated upon the throne? I will delude him, take control of him, and drag him down. Should this not happen, he had all these contingency plans. Should this not happen, then I will tell the king, listen to the truth, O king. Call all of your religious heads and judges to the court. Collect all of your elephants, horses, animals, and birds. Whatever creatures you have, bring them to your palace. Then order all your Qazi priests to read from your scriptures and inspire the creatures to such a state of spiritual emotion that they begin to cry. When his priests fail to do so, then I will reveal my potency to the king. I will say, O king, on the instructions of these same Qazi priests, whose lack of spiritual power we have already witnessed, you want to forbid the congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Now you shall see my power to the full satisfaction of your eyes. Then I shall capture a mad elephant and bring him before the king, along with other elephants, horses, deer, and other animals, and instantly make them all cry in ecstasy and chant Krishna's name. I will make the king and all his men cry and chant Krishna's name. I know you don't believe that it is possible, but I will show you right now, and you can see for yourself. The Lord noticed a small girl who was the daughter of Srivas Pandit's brother named Narayani. So this is the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Lord Gaurachandra, the supreme Godhead, the super soul within everyone's heart, ordered the little girl, Narayani, chant Krishna's name and cry in ecstasy. The 4-year-old girl became extremely agitated with ecstatic spiritual emotions and cried out, "Oh Krishna!" She began to weep, losing all perception of the external world. Tears streamed down her body and she fell to the ground. Smiling, Lord Vishwambar said to Srivas, "Are your fears pacified now?" Vaishnavas will remember for many years to come how Narayani was a recipient of the Lord's mercy. So Narayani got this mercy from the Lord when she was 4 years old. And later when she grew up, she married and she had Vrindavan Das Thakur, but she became widowed during her pregnancy and she lived as a servant. And Vrindavan Das Thakur ended up again taking initiation from Nityananda and writing Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we're going to read today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 52. We're going to read verses 3 and 4. And I think 3 is on the board here. Tapashrada yuto dhiro Nisango mukta samshaya Samadaya mana Krishne Pravishad Gandhamadanam. Please chant. Tapashraya yuto dhiro Mana Krishna Pravishad Gandhamadanam Tapashrada yuto dhiro. Nishango mukta samsaya. Samadaya mana Krishne. Pravishad gandamadanam. Tapashrada yuto dhiro. Nishango mukta samshayaha. Samadaya mana Krishne. Pravishad gandamadana. Tapashrada yato dhiro. Nishango mukta samsayaha. Samadaya mana Krishne. Yeah? Oh, you got that. Pravishad Gandamadanam. Pravishad Gandamadanam. Tapaha. In austerities. Shraddha. Faith. Yuttaha. Having. Dhiraha. Serious. Nisanga. Detached from material association. Mukta. Freed. Samsayaha. Of doubts. Samadhaya. Fixing in trance. Manaha is mind. Krishna. Upon Lord Krishna. Pavishat. He entered upon. Gandhamadhanam. The mountain known as Gandhamadana. Does anyone know what the word Gandha means? Smell, yes. The implication here is a nice smell. Yeah. BBT translation. The sober king, beyond material association and free of doubt, was convinced of the value of austerity. Absorbing his mind in Lord Krishna, he came to Gadanamadana mountain. BBT purport. The name Gadanamadana indicates a place of delightful fragrances. Undoubtedly, Gandhamadana was filled with the aroma of wildflowers and forest honey, and with other natural scents. And we're going to go on to the next verse as well. Badaryashrama asadya nara narayana layam sarva dvandva saha shantas tapasara dayadarim. There he arrived at Badrikashrama, the abode of Lord Naranarayana, where, remaining tolerant of all dualities, he peacefully worshipped the Supreme Lord Hari by performing severe austerities. So you remember that Krishna told him, now go perform austerities. So we're going to read Srila Prabhupada's translation of this in Krishna book. Eventually he reached, this is about King Muchukunda again. Eventually he reached the mountain known as Gandhamadana, where there were many trees, such as sandalwood and other flowering trees, whose fragrance made anyone who reached them joyful. He decided to remain in that Gandhamadana mountain region to execute austerities and penances for the rest of his life. It appears that this place is situated in the northernmost part of the Himalayan mountains, where the abode of Naranarayana is situated. This place is still existing and is called Badrikashrama. In Badrikashrama, he engaged himself in the worship of Lord Krishna, tolerating all kinds of pains and pleasures and the other dualities of this material world. And we're going to look now at the commentary of Srila Sanatana Goswami. That's for text 3. Maybe we can have up the Sanskrit for text 3. Expert at discriminating or tolerating even suffering, dhiraha. Devoid of desires for results from any other process, or devoid of internal or external relationships, nisangaha. Having great conviction or faith in devotion to the Lord's lotus feet, mukta samshayaha, or the faith being the cause of the bhakti, he fixed his mind on Krishna. Or because of being free of doubt, he was faithful in concentrating his mind on the attractive form of Krishna, the form of the highest bliss. he came to Gadamadana hill in the most excellent condition, pra-avishat. I want to look at, Srila Jiva Goswami just adds one thing, respectfully concentrating on Krishna, tapa shraddha yutaha. Okay, I want to look now at Sanatana Goswami's commentary. Sanatana Goswami's commentary on the next verse, text 4. In Badrik Ashrama, he came to the abode of Naranarayana, or he came to Badrik Ashrama where Naranarayana had taken shelter. His main reason for coming there was austerity, for there the two avatars who propagate austerity were directly present. Tolerating dualities like heat and cold, with undisturbed heart, he worshipped the Lord, who removes all suffering or is most attractive. Harihi. Tapashraddha yuto dhiro nisango mukta samshayaha samadaya mana krishne pravishchad gandhamadanam badar ashrama ashadya nara narayana alayam sarva dvandva sahashantas tapasara dayam darim. Eventually, he reached the mountain known as Gandhamadana, where there were many trees, such as sandalwood and other flowering trees, whose fragrance made anyone who reached them joyful. He decided to remain in that Gandhamadana mountain region to execute austerities and penances for the rest of his life. It appears that this place is situated in the northernmost part of the Himalayan mountains, where the abode of Naranarayana is situated. This place is still existing and is called Badrik Ashrama. In Badrik Ashrama, he engaged himself in the worship of Lord Krishna, tolerating all kinds of pains and pleasures and the other dualities of this material world. Lord Krishna returned to the vicinity... Oh, that's next part. So here we notice that King Muchukunda was told by Krishna, you can go wherever you like. Remember that? Said you can wander the earth, at your own desire. So he's wandering around and he goes north, because north is physically and symbolically associated with renunciation, as we already read. And there he comes to the ashram of Naranarayan Rishi, which has wonderful fragrances because all of the flowers and the trees. And he decides, as Prabhupada said, he came there and he said, this is a good place. This will be conducive because Krishna told me to do austerities, and here I am in a place of austerity. Naranarayan Rishi are the personification of austerities, and everything smells very nice. So this will be a very good place. So this idea of having a suitable place for our bhajan and worship is there throughout the Vedic literature. Especially we find here, King Muchukunda is basically taking vanaprastha. You know, he's already retired. He got some sleep after his hard work. His family's all dead. His kingdom's all finished. And so Krishna's telling him do austerities, and he wants to find a good place for his austerities. And again, we find this kind of description. The devotees go to a place often with water, very clean water, like Kardama Muni. He's meditating by a lake, where the lake was as clear as the pure mind of the devotee. Lord Shiva likes to meditate in a place where there's no birds. So the tree under which Lord Shiva sits, there's no birds, because he doesn't want any noises disturbing his meditation. Of course, we can also meditate on birds as Krishna's artistic sense. And just like in our Hare Krishna temples, we try to make the atmosphere very pleasing. Right? Like this room is very beautiful. The wooden walls, the gorgeous original paintings on the walls. Right? Even we have this, the metal thing pulls the gate has been painted to look like wood. So we tried to make everything very attractive. Right? And the property, we have all these gardenias, right? You walk down the lanes and you're in Gandhamadana. You're surrounded by fragrance. Of course, the wintertime we can't do that here. but at least in the spring, summer, and fall, we have varieties of flowering, fragrant plants, and as you walk through the property, these different scents fill the atmosphere. And of course, we like the chirping of birds, unlike Lord Shiva, which remind us of Krishna. We have the beautiful woods here, and we have the creek, and so many things. That's a very conducive atmosphere for meditating on Krishna. And one should do like that in one's own living situation also. You know, we keep our own room, should be very, very clean. Prabhupada says we should be revolutionary clean. And we should have a place that's easy enough to keep clean. You know, sometimes people have so much knickknacks and paraphernalia that it takes 5 hours just to clean everything. And to have everything neat, which means not having more stuff than we have place to put it. So I remember one person who lived here long ago in a small room. She had piles of stuff everywhere. And someone came to visit and said, "Oh, you just don't have enough space." And I kept my mouth shut, but I was thinking, no, you've got too much stuff. You know, to make sure that we're in an environment that's actually conducive for meditation. Everything should be clean, everything should be neat, there should be very nice natural fragrances, fresh air, and so forth. Of course, sometimes we see that devotees do exactly the opposite of this. Can any of you think of a prime example in recent history in our sampradaya of someone who did exactly the opposite of this? Prabhupada coming to New York. Gorkishore Das Babaji chanting his japa next to an outhouse where there's very bad smells. So why did he go to a place where it smells very bad? Because he didn't want materialistic people bothering him. Because materialistic people, especially in India, they're always going to sadhus, "Give me a blessing, give me a blessing, give me a blessing, give me a blessing." And he didn't want to be bothered. So of course he was in the holy dham, but he especially picked a smelly place. And we have some of the avadutas who do this, like Rishabdev and Jad Bharata, and when Maharaj Yudhisthira, when he took Vanaprastha, they appeared like somebody who was such that nobody would want anything to do with them. So that's also another method. But it's not that we should put open sewage here near Goloka to keep away the, materialistic people. And in general, we should create a very beautiful, fragrant, clean, neat, sattvic atmosphere where people will like to come. And just like at our Bhaktivedanta Manor, they've got beautiful, beautiful gardens and ponds. And so many, many people come there just they want to, like, go to a park, Well, not anymore. So, no, they've wrecked it. So people go there because they want to go. Don't get me talking about that, especially recorded on the internet. So fire will start coming out of my ears. So people go there just, because they want to go to some beautiful place, and because they're there at a beautiful place, then they also see Radha Gokulananda and Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman and Gaunitai, and they also take prasadam, and they go to the kirtan, and they buy Prabhupada's books and so many things like this. Right? We have Gopal Krishna Maharaj has done this right smack dab in the center of Delhi. Right? We say helly smelly Delhi. But right there in the middle of helly smelly Delhi, you have the Glory of India temple. You have now the beautiful Rohini temple. And there you are in the middle of Delhi, and the beautiful buildings and beautiful gardens. And you see Krishna and Kaliya and so many things, and you enter into this atmosphere, this transcendental atmosphere, and immediately your mind becomes changed. So we want to, as far as possible, be in an external atmosphere that influences our mind towards transcendence. However, for preaching, we can go anywhere. The devotee is willing. This was said by Lord Shiva to Parvati after she cursed Chitraketu, and he wasn't disturbed at being a demon. Right? You were talking the other day, Maharaj, about the surrender, Atmani Vedanam, their surrender of the body, surrender of the mind, surrender of the soul. And the surrender of the soul is whatever body you put me in, Lord, I'm willing to do your service. You were quoting from Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, Kita Janma Hoy, and you were talking about the millipedes in your house. So, we're willing to be even in a hellish situation if that's going to be according to Krishna's desire. And of course, as you mentioned, Maharaj Srila Prabhupada exemplified that. You know, he had to stay with people who were keeping cat food, which is made of meat, in their refrigerator, which was, you know, not done by a Vaishnava. They wouldn't stay in some place where people were keeping meat in their refrigerator. But he did that for the sake of preaching. All right, now I would like to look at the qualities that King Muchukunda is cultivating here. When we talk about austerities, often we think about external physical austerities, which are also useful. Right? Like we just had Ekadasi. So on Ekadasi we do some austerities where we don't eat our regular food. And it may not seem that big of a deal to us, but like for people who live in rice cultures, not to eat any rice is a huge austerity. It's like they just, like, what am I going to eat? I have nothing to eat. And of course, some people do a fast from all food. Some people do a fast from all food and water. So that's an external austerity. Of course, the main austerities that Prabhupada gave us were no eating meat, fish, or eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. And Prabhupada liked to tell the story about how Lord Jetlin had been told this austerity by one of Prabhupada's godbrothers and said, this is impossible. And so Prabhupada said, when I came to the West, I thought I was going to ask an austerity of people that they would say, oh, this is impossible. And how are we going to do this? And indeed, if you're working in the world and active in the world, having a strict vegetarian diet and eating only food cooked by devotees is not easy. You know, we see many families, if both the husband and wife works, they don't have enough time to cook. And it actually is austerity. One has to go through some trouble that we're going to eat only pure vegetarian food cooked by devotees and properly offered to Krishna. You know, and for many people, no illicit sex is a huge austerity. And we see this in our Hare Krishna movement. We see people who are not able to follow this regulation. We run into it all the time. And for no intoxication, for many people, again, this is a huge austerity. So many people are addicted to so many types of intoxication, and we forbid even, you know, coffee, tea, and Coca-Cola. And for many people, you know, how are they going to function without their morning cup of coffee? And then there are some people for whom gambling is a real problem. I've met 2 devotees who really struggle with a gambling addiction. And so for some people, this is also a huge austerity. So these are the main austerities that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do externally. Prabhupada didn't want us to do austerities like Dhruva Maharaj, where, you know, we're sitting outside in the forest without a shelter and we're only eating dry leaves and roots from the forest. That's not the kind of austerity Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. But the main austerity that we have to do if we want to actually become Krishna conscious is we have to give up the false ego. And that's actually the biggest austerity, and you can tell it's the biggest austerity by how we react whenever someone tells us we've done something wrong, or that there's something imperfect about our character. What's our response to that? You know, or try telling someone else that and see their response. Don't try that, actually. But you'll see that our response is to become defensive. I'd had someone recently had a long conversation with me about the negative comments that we find in the scriptures about women. And after talking with her for a very long time, I said, really, your problem here is your own pride. That you're thinking, I am a woman, and as a woman, I am wonderful. And it was hard, you know. It was hard for me to say that, and it was hard for her to hear it. But it was interesting. Once she actually heard that and assimilated that, it was quite fascinating. We were having a video talk. She says I've met her, but I don't recall meeting her. So I was just talking to her. She was a very ordinary-looking person in her 40s, very, very ordinary-looking. And once she accepted that her problem was pride, and once she let go of that pride, her actual physical demeanor changed. It was astonishing. Within the space of a few moments, she went from an entirely ordinary-looking person to a very glowing, attractive person. I think you talked about that, right? How Prabhupada said his disciples were becoming beautiful. So that's the main austerity. So here we see some details about what that means here. So in text 4, I want to look at text 4 particularly. We don't have time to do all of them. Sarva dvandva saha shantas. Sarva dvanda. Sarva means all. Dvanda means duality. Heat, cold, happiness, distress, honor, dishonor, fame, infamy, friends, enemies. Saha. Saha means strength or power. Particularly here, here the BBT translation is tolerating. When you look up the meaning of this word, it generally means with strength or power. Shantas. Shanta means peaceful. By his power, he became peaceful in the face of all dualities. So our false ego tells us, I like this, I don't like this. I like this, I don't like this. Honor is nice, dishonor is bad. Friends are good, enemies are bad. That's all coming from the false ego, from identifying with this body. And so one austerity that we do is we, by our mental strength, we become peaceful. Now, people often think that this means repression. It doesn't mean repression. It means santas. It means equanimity. That one sees that in life, sometimes people praise you, sometimes people criticize you. Does this happen to everybody? Does anybody here always get praised? Does anyone here always get criticized? It comes and goes. Sometimes we have happiness. Sometimes we have distress. It comes and goes. Yes? Does anyone here have material happiness all the time? Does anyone here have material distress all the time? No, it comes and goes. And therefore one becomes peaceful. One regulates one's mind that this is just related to the body and mind. It's not related to me. And as Krishna says in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one enjoys a pleasure within. So these austerities are both the result of meditating on Krishna and part of one's sadhana to qualify oneself to meditate on Krishna. Because if the mind is always going, if we sit down to chant japa and our mind is going to all of our, hankering and lamenting, sochiti kansati, oh, I want this new pair of shoes. Oh, I have to deal with this enemy. Oh, I have this problem. I have this money problem. I have this family problem. I have this health problem. If our mind is constantly doing that, we're not going to be able to meditate on Krishna. And when we meditate on Krishna, we become detached from the mind jumping around like that. Does that make sense? So let's look also at the other things that are listed for him. We have Shraddha, he had faith. He was dhira, he was very sober. So dhira means literally sober, not literally taking intoxicants. But it also means not being crazy, not panicking. This is also part of the false ego. I have so many urgent crises that have to be taken care of, or I might die. And we get so upset about everything. And I had someone else did this with me recently about Prabhupada's statement about women going into a total panic. But one should be sober. One should be clear-headed. And if we're going through some sort of anxiety or panic, then just wait to make decisions. Don't make decisions in a panic. Nissango. So nissango, not having, it literally means not having association, detached from material association. We call it detached from material association because Muchakunda was going to find the association of the Lord. And both Sanatan and Jiva say this also means being detached from processes like karma yoga, gyan yoga, and dhyan yoga. Only having faith in Krishna. Mukta samshaya, that's a really nice statement. Samshaya means a doubt, a difficulty. Mukta samshaya, he didn't have any more doubts. Now, of course, that's pretty easy because he saw Krishna face to face. So that's definitely easy to become free from doubts. But we do have demons who see Krishna and still have doubts. So this is also a question of, well, how do you become free from doubts? One has to have practical experience of Krishna consciousness. Yes? Samadhaya, he fixed his mind on Krishna. Samadhaya mana Krishna. So this isn't just meditation on the void. So these are some of his internal austerities. This sarva dvandva saha shantas, being peaceful, making a mental determination, I am going to be peaceful in the face of all austerities. developing one's faith, sobriety, giving up all other processes as a hope for spiritual understanding, and working to become free from our doubts, to fix our mind on Krishna. So we have just a couple minutes if anyone has questions or comments or anything they'd like to add. Oh, certainly, Marge. You're very good at that. Very. Krishna emphasizes it throughout the Gita and emphasized throughout the Bhagavatam how equanimity is very important. Well, I really like what you said. What Mara said is that when people are going through some kind of great trauma, like having someone close to them die, it's often best to first express their grief. So I would give two answers to this. If the trauma that someone is going through is not severe, we have many ups and downs, happiness and distress, not severe in life, then one doesn't repress those feelings. One allows those feelings of grief or anger or lamentation to arise physically in the body, but one does not need to express them at all. And one does not identify with them, and one lets them pass through the body and mind as an observer. If the emotions that come up are extremely severe, the analogy that I give, it's just like if you're walking down the street having a conversation with someone and a very noisy truck goes by. You may have to pause your conversation until the truck has passed you by. So sometimes when things happen that are extremely severe, and this has happened to me, as I've talked about when Chakra died, I had 10 days when I just had to let that grief be there. But even then, one should be an observer. One may need to cry, one may need to go away from everybody, but one should observe that this is not ultimately happening to me. And I've personally done that. Well, that also is often very helpful, yes. Yes. Radha Golokananda ki jai.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale pritimanti pasyanti panti kayanti chiram naganti ananda chinmaya sadhu jala vigrahasya govindam
Adipurusham Amaham Bhajami
govindam adipurusham namaham bhajami govindam adipurusham namaham bhajami govindam adipurusham namaham bhajami govindam
Adipurusham. Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Tammeni Yamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacha Negere Visesha Shunyavani Paschachagade Satarane Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hey, la la hey, jaya rate, jaya rate, na rate, rate, jaya rate, jaya rate. Hey, jai om. Prabhupada ki jai. Friends, say. Go, Premananda. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious Shri Guru and Gauranga Shilabham. Jai Ravi Kaira Karanam Vidyavada Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Pranamasaspadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Prabhijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Akari Bauda Nija Sarva Shaktish Tatrapita Niyamatasmalanena Kala Etadrashita Bakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdai Mami Drishanihan Aninana Raga Trinada Pisani Chaina Turariva Stationana Amaninya Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagadish Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishwarai Bhavatad Bhakti Nahaitapitore Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishame Babambudo Kripaya Tava Padapankajas Dita Duli Satrasam Vachintaya Nayanam Galuda Shrudaraya Vadanam Gadgara Radyagira Ulaka Nichitam Babukada Tavanama Graneva Vishiti Layitam Nimishena Chakshusha Parvishayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahena May Ashli Shiva Parat Vanashnumam Adarshanam Marmatam Karotuva Yata Tata Vidratu Lampato Matprananatas Suseva Napuraha. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon, is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. Hosanna Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shikshastika ki jai.